Thanks for tuning back in. Here are Asia's news headlines. Chinese firms said to plan 23 billion Micron bid. Singapore gets GDP contraction surprise. It could be the biggest Chinese takeover of a U.S. company in history, but the facts are looking rough right now. There are reports that the state-backed private equity firm Tsinghua Unigroup is offering to purchase U.S. memory chip producer Micron Technology for $23 billion. But Micron says it hasn't received an offer. Reuters correspondent John Ruwitch had this to say.
There's still a great deal of uncertainty about exactly what's happening and when it's going to happen, and also what regulatory hurdles there are to making this deal happen. But if it happens, it does seem like it's a move by this group Tsinghua to acquire technology that China does not yet have. Whether or not this deal actually goes through will hinge to some extent on government approval. In the United States, for instance, it's likely that it's going to be reviewed by CFIUS, which is a committee designed to scrutinize possible deals, potential deals where foreigners will be buying American companies, and they look for national security concerns. Certainly in the United States these days, tech issues, computer issues, memory, China, these things are all hot button issues.
Tsinghua's reported offer of $21 a share to purchase Micron is sweet, valuing the company nearly 20% higher its closing price on Monday. And Micron may be enticed. It's been coping through some tough times with a slow in the global demand for PCs. That sent its shares price down about 50% so far this year alone. Business aside, this could be a transaction that gets extra scrutiny on Capitol Hill. The U.S. is deeply suspicious of China's online intentions, raising questions of whether this acquisition is about more than just dollars and cents. Singapore's trade-dependent economy is feeling the heat from its floundering factory sector as global demand decline. The Ministry of Trade and Industry revealed a 14% slide in manufacturing on a quarterly basis and is dragging down economic growth. Estimates for second quarter GDP show a discouraging drop of 4.6% from the last 3 months on an annualized basis, a big break from last quarter's revised numbers of 4.2% growth. The government's target growth for the year is in the 2 to 4% range, and some economists are targeting for the lower end of the spectrum. Head Equity and Credit APAC, UBS CIO Wealth Management, Hartmut Issel, have this to say.
Yeah, I still think the second half could be a bit higher than the first half. Probably the official forecast, I wouldn't be surprised if they have room for downward revision, but let's say if we end up with a plus and minus 2.5%, it would still be a decent number.
The key services and construction sectors have also gotten hits as Singapore struggles with a labor crunch after tightening rules on hiring foreign workers. The local currency plummeted against the U.S. dollar on the news, and the gloomy outlook has triggered a talk of further forex policy based from the Monetary Authority in their October review. But as Singapore gears up for its 50th anniversary next month, economic concerns might just rain on the parade. Legislation for a dramatic change in Japan's defense policy that could enable troops to fight abroad for the first time since World War II was approved by a lower house panel on Wednesday, despite opposition from resistant party members and the majority of regular voters. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says a bolder security stand, welcomed by key ally Washington, is important to meet new challenges, such as those from a rising China. Opponents say the revisions violate the pacifist constitution and could involve Japan in U.S.-led conflicts around the world. Ruling coalition lawmakers approved the bills after a harsh debate, with opposition MPs shouting and flashing signs that read "Abe politics is unforgivable" and "against ramming bills through." The bills are expected to be approved this week by the full lower house, where the ruling bloc has an overwhelming majority. Prior to going to the upper chamber, Abe now faces his biggest challenge since taking office in December of 2012, vowing to revive Japan's stagnant economy and boost its defense. His ratings have slipped over voter fears about the plan to drop a ban on collective self-defense or fighting to defend a friendly country under attack, besides doubts on other signature policies. Abe's disapproval rate grew 5 points to 42% in an Asahi newspaper poll released on Monday versus a support rate of 39%. 56% opposed the bills. South Korean Unification Minister Hong Yong-pyo said on Tuesday Iran's nuclear deal could put pressure on isolated North Korea. Iran and 6 major world powers achieved a nuclear deal on Tuesday, ending more than a decade of on and off negotiations with an agreement that could potentially transform the Middle East. Under the deal, sanctions imposed by the United States, European nations, and United Nations would be lifted in return for Iran agreeing on long-term curbs for a nuclear program that the West has suspected was targeted at creating a nuclear bomb. North Korea has conducted 3 tests of nuclear devices, the most recent in February of 2013. It has a deployed arsenal of missiles of various ranges and is thought to be developing an intercontinental ballistic missile aimed at delivering nuclear weapons. North Korea is the only one isolated country that keeps posing a threat to the international community with nuclear weapons. In this sense, I think that Iran's nuclear deal can put pressure on North Korea, Hong said at news conference in Seoul. The North, heavily sanctioned by the United Nations for its missile and nuclear tests, is technically still at war with the South after the 1950-53 conflict ended in a truce and not a peace treaty. Many travelers stranded in Indonesia's Bali were finally able to leave the country on Tuesday after flight operations at Ngurah Rai International Airport came back to normal after 2 closures last week. The airport was closed on the popular resort island of Bali twice in less than 3 days after ash from an eruption of Mount Raung in East Java province covered the runway. Mount Raung is one of the most active volcanoes in the archipelago, which is located on the Ring of Fire. Jetstar and Virgin Australia had resumed their flights both in and out of Bali on Tuesday, after suspending them for 4 days. A Virgin spokesperson quoted by Australian media said more flights were being added to the schedule to help in transporting people out of Indonesia. Australian tourist George Lorney on Tuesday said he had been going to the airport almost every day to check on the latest update. We went to the airport website as well to see, but it wasn't updating as fast, and so we had to actually just take our chance to see if it was reopened, he said, even with the uncertainty of whether he would be able to get onto a flight. Bali's airport is one of the busiest in Indonesia. When it shut down last Friday, nearly 20,000 passengers were left stranded, and over 200 domestic and international flights were canceled, the airport authorities said. Mount Raung in East Java has been erupting for more than a week, prompting several airports around the area to close down temporarily. The condition of Mount Raung is now considered safe enough for flights, local media reported. 27 people were killed and 40 were injured on Tuesday after a stampede in Rahamundry on the first day of a Hindu festival held once every 144 years. The stampede began after a woman fell down as crowds pushed to get through a narrow entrance to the banks of the Godavari River where people went to bathe, killing 26 women and 1 man and injuring 40 other pilgrims. Rahamundry District Police told Reuters. Police estimated the crowd grew to more than 1 million people, and the government of the southern state anticipated some 40 million more pilgrims over the next 12 days to be in attendance in the Godavari Maha Pushkaralu, a Hindu festival held at the banks of the Holy River to offer prayers. Opposition Congress Party leader Chiranjeevi said the stampede was a failure of the administration of Andhra Pradesh's Telugu Desam Party. It is very unfortunate, and our deepest sympathy towards the deceased families, to those people who got hurt and are taking treatment in the hospitals. Very unfortunate, very sad thing, and it shouldn't happen. It happened because of government failure. It's the administrative side. Absolutely, they failed, he said. Meanwhile, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandra Babu Naidu, who took a dip in the river earlier in the day to begin the festivities, visited the government-run hospital where the injured have been admitted and announced a sum of 1 million rupees, equivalent to $15,750 were to be given as compensation to each victim's family. According to his office, Naidu also ordered the deployment of more police to aid in managing the crowds. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences to the victims' families in a statement, saying he was deeply pained at the loss of life. But the incident did not hinder pilgrims who continue to come into the festival grounds. Stampedes are not uncommon at India's large religious festivals, where crowds typically come in the numbers of tens of millions. In 2013, 36 pilgrims were killed during a stampede in a train station in a festival in northern India. We'll be right back after this commercial break.